Hello, Scooby-Doo fans. Welcome to my Season 1, Episode 15 review of Scooby-Doo Where Are You? So last time, I continued my playthrough of the LEGO Marvel Avengers DLC with the release of Part 2 of my Let's Play. So I hope you guys had a good time with that. I saw, the recognition on that. I'm glad you guys enjoyed that. And I'm sorry that it took a little bit longer to release, but yeah, today I will be covering Season 1, Episode 15 of Scooby-Doo Where Are You? Titled Spooky Space Kook, which was released on December 20th, 1969. So the short synopsis of the episode is the gang investigate an airfield supposedly haunted by a ghostly alien with a cackling, shrieking laugh. So I did review this episode on the Scooby-Doo Where Are You DVD. I currently don't have it next to me at the moment, but you guys know what it looks like. It has all the for all the episodes from the first two seasons. It even has that stupid third season shit, which there's no third season. I'll clear that up right now. There's no third season of Where Are You? I don't know why I don't know why people see that, but yeah, this episode, it's viewed highly by fans. Spooky Space Kook is considered one of the best episodes of the series. And fun fact, guys, actually, this is the last episode of Scooby-Doo to be released in 1969, as the next episode will be released in the beginning of 1970. So this is the last 1969 episode. And yeah, this episode is a very classic episode, one that I've seen fans love and admire so many times. It's always up in people's rankings as one of the best Where Are You episodes. But is it the best Where Are You episode? Do I agree with that sentiment? Do I think this episode deserves its spot high up? Well, why don't we take a look at the episode to see whether I think it's a good or bad episode of Scooby-Doo Where Are You? The episode begins with a mysterious aircraft appearing and landing behind some trees, and then a mysterious glowing ghost in a spacesuit walks down the road, stops, and unleashes a maniacal laugh. And I love this intro. This is probably the best opening to any Scooby-Doo Where Are You episode. Just a really good introduction to the villain. Love it. It really sets up the mood for this episode, the tone, just what we're going to be seeing. And the episode already is off to a great start with this fantastic introduction scene for the Space Kook. Then we cut to Scooby, Shaggy, and the rest of the gang driving down an old country road, and Shaggy is making a very interesting sandwich and tries to offer it to the gang, but they don't want it. And they unfortunately run out of gas and must stop soon. So they park at an old farmhouse, and they decide to go ask the caretaker of the house for gas. So they go up, they knock on the door, and they talk to the old farmer, who at first mistakes the gang for reporters. The gang explain the situation to the farmer and how they're not reporters and all they want is just some gas for their mystery machine. And the man, and they ask why reporters would be pestering him. And the man says that the reporters have been bothering him because of a spooky spacecraft and an alien that's been haunting an abandoned airfield adjacent to the farm. And, that gets the gang interested in the mystery. They see glowing footprints, and they decide to. So after getting gas, Fred, Daphne, Velma, Shaggy, and Scooby realize that they have a mystery on their hands, and so they will go to look for this haunted spacecraft. They see it, and they follow the aircraft to the abandoned airfield. And then they arrive at the abandoned airfield and, start looking around. And they come to a room where they find a running generator. And Scooby and Shaggy have a run-in with the mysterious ghost after they all split up after seeing the generator and want to find the ghost. Fred and the girls search for clues in other sections, and at one point, Fred gets caught by a hook by the Space Kook, who turns on the lever, and Freddy is stuck. And it's actually a pretty cool scene because Daphne doesn't know what she's doing, which makes sense. But they also show that Velma's not very mechanic savvy either. Despite how smart she is and how Velma's a very intelligent girl, she's not perfect and she doesn't know everything. So and I like that. It shows that she has a flaw and it really helps her character. So Fred tells Daphne and Velma to go find Shaggy and Scooby so they can get it down. And Fred even makes a joke that he feels like a side of beef while he's hanging up in the air, and it is a pretty good joke. And then we get a fucking hilarious scene of Shaggy and Scooby after they're running with the ghost. They go look for the rest of the gang to go tell about the ghost, and they think that they ran into another ghost, which probably the Space Kook activated or something, and they jump into a pile of sheets, and Shaggy and Scooby mistake each other for a ghost and freak the fuck out and run out. It's really funny, really entertaining scene, probably, and one of my favorite scenes of the episode. Love me a good Shaggy and Scooby comedic scene. The humor's on point this episode.
I wonder where Freddy and the girls are. We gotta warn them about Ghost Man. Might as well look in here. What's that? Huh? Let's get out of here! Right? Ghost? Where? There! Ghost! Ghost!
And so after that very funny scene with Shaggy and Scooby, they find Daphne and Velma. Shaggy and Scooby ask where Freddy is, and they tell him that he's hanging up by a hook in another room. And so they lead him back to Fred, and Shaggy and Scooby are able to get him down, and they rescue him before Fred and Velma ask Shaggy to explain the ghost more thoroughly. And this is when the ghost arrives just after saving Freddy. And this prompts this prompts the kids to flee in terror. And I like that even not just Shaggy and Scooby flee, but Fred, Daphne, and Velma are even terrified of this ghost. That they run the fuck away from this ghost and don't even want to deal with it. Then Shaggy and Scooby, after running away from the ghost, arrive at a mess hall where they go to look for food, as they normally do. And they do find fresh food there. Well, Scooby does, in the fridge. And this actually clues them in. This is another clue that the ghosts may not be real. Or at least they're suspicious that they may not be real. So they go to tell the gang what they find, but the ghost comes again and chases them away. And then after, another scene of Fred and Daphne, finding a newspaper and another clue, which is another clue to the mystery of, because the ghost was, I guess, reading a newspaper from a day ago. Shaggy and Scooby had hid in some trash cans. They realize the coast is clear, and they try to go once again go find the gang again. And this prompts a very funny scene where after they get out of their hiding spots, the Space Kook pops up, and they go into the supply department, and Shaggy finds the key, gives it to Scooby, and Scooby, tosses it out the window, and then they try to block the door, but it's one of those doors that, doesn't go into the building, it goes out, outside, so it pulls out rather than in. So Shaggy and so we get a very funny scene of Shaggy and Scooby. Shaggy asking for the key. Scooby tells him that he threw it out the window. They go out the window. They get the key. They go back into the window, and then they unlock the door and leave. Very entertaining and funny scene. Again, just a great Shaggy and Scooby comedic scene. Always love these good comedic scenes, but this is definitely one of the better moments of the episode. As Shaggy and Scooby are really on their A game in this episode with their chase scenes and comedy. It's hilarious.
Quick, Scooby, put this key in a safe place.
All right.
Oh no, another door. Old frightening face won't open the door now. Oh no, it opened the other way. Quick, Scoob, give me the key. You threw it out the window. We gotta get that key and get out of here.
Where it is?
Got it. Now we can get out of here.
And so finally, after Shaggy and Scooby get away from the Space Kook, they once again find Fred, Daphne, and Velma, and they're reunited, and they all tell each other what's been going on, and then the gang find a Jeep that still has gasoline in the motor, and that there's an extra set of wheels under the Jeep. And it starts, and then the Jeep just runs by itself and drives off. And then you hear the Space Kook laugh, and you think there's one Space Kook, but then a whole fucking army of space alien ghosts just materializes. And that's really fucking cool. Just the idea of an army of Space Kooks is so creepy. And so, Shaggy and Scooby obviously run away, and I don't blame them. After they see a whole army of Space Kooks, they go up into a air tower, and they find the biggest clue yet, which is that when they head into the air tower, and they find a movie projector and a tape recorder. So now that they've found the answer to the mystery, now they just got to get Fred, Daphne, and Velma up here to figure it out. The culprit, the Space Kook himself. So after they tell Fred, Daphne, and Velma, over the microphone, Space Kook realizes. He runs over. He tries to get Shaggy and Scooby. They escape the Space Kook by jumping out of the air tower with a parachute. And then the farmer and the sheriff arrive, and they catch. And once they explain the situation, they catch Space Kook running away. And the gang and the sheriff and the farmer chase after the Space Kook as he runs into a wind tunnel by accident. And Fred turns on the wind tunnel, and it gets his costume blown off, which reveals the monster to be fake, and a man behind the mask, which is good. That's what I want. And then the crook, so this is a nobody, a no-name villain, which, as I've said, I'm not a huge fan of. We've not seen this guy yet, so. But they explain how he made the glowing footprints. And the farmer says that the crook happens to be his neighbor, Henry Bascom. We never met Henry Bascom before this point, which is one of my minor gripes with the episode is that I've mentioned many times on my channel, I don't like when there's no named suspects, but I will explain why it works later on when I get to my thoughts on the episode, because it actually works better here than it does in other cases. And plus, Bedlam and the Big Top had the same situation, and I love that episode. So sometimes I can give it a pass if it's, and I think it's and I'll explain more later, but I think it's having him connected to the farmer at least makes it a little bit less, intolerable, because he at least has a connection with one of the suspects. And so they explain how Space Kook did everything, how the spacecraft appeared, how he made the glowing footprints, the army of Space Kooks, the Jeep, and basically just everything that Space Kook did, they pretty much explain. And so they realize what his motive is, which was he was trying to exploit the land for money after he heard that the airfield was reopening again. So basically, he wanted to get the land for cheap after, which is not a bad motive if it's at least unique enough from the money motive, and although we'll get a lot of land motivated motives in later Scooby-Doo shows, but this is one of the earlier examples, so it works. They explain that he dipped his costume in phosphorus, which made his costume glow, which made the glow. They say the army of ghosts, like I said, was just a bunch of stuffed dummies, and that the Jeep ran by itself by remote control. And that Space Kook's spooky laugh, his iconic laugh, was just a sped up soundtrack that was played over the loudspeakers, and the spacecraft was imitated through a movie projector. So once they put the pieces together, and and Henry says the famous, not the famous My Only Kid line, but he says a variation of it, he words it differently, basically. The farmer asks the gang if they weren't they scared like everyone else, and this is what Shaggy tells him.
Oh, no, solving mysteries is our hobby. It takes a lot to scare us.
And so after this response, Fred, being decides to poke at them and plays the spooky laugh track, which scares Shaggy and Scooby. Which is a very entertaining and funny scene, because I love that Fred just, it says, no bullshit, you guys were scared just like the rest of us. And, plays a little joke on them. And this is what Scooby says afterwards, ending the episode. I'm going to give Season 1, Episode 15 of Scooby-Doo Where Are You 5 stars out of 5. So since this is a 5 out of 5 episode, we'll start with the negatives first. And I really only have two minor ones that really, two minor gripes with it. But again, they don't hinder my enjoyment of the episode. So the first is that I don't, like I said before in the review, I don't like that the culprit is someone we haven't seen before. I've never been a fan of the, of the man behind the mask being someone we never met before, because that means we can't guess him to be one of the suspects. It makes the less, it lessens the mystery. Like, it makes it lacking a bit when you take away that element. However, I do like that he has a connection with the farmer, so at least it's not as bad. It's kind of like with the hypnotist in Harry the hypnotist in Bedlam and the Big Top. He was connected with the circus, leader, the guy who was running the circus, so it wasn't as bad. I seem to have an issue when someone like a sheriff who comes last minute has to explain the gang, oh, this is some criminal that we've never met before. I still don't like the no face, not no name suspects. I don't like, when we don't see them out of costume beforehand. I wish we would have done that. But it's not as bad here, because at least there's some connection with the farmer, kind of like in Bedlam and the Big Top, where there's a connection with the circus, owner. So it doesn't bother me as much. Another thing, too, which kind of ties... The other minor negative is that it ties in with the same thing as I said before. The lack of suspects is kind of annoying. You only have one suspect, which is the farmer. There's nobody else. The sheriff comes at the end, but he doesn't really count. You have nobody else to really guess, so it kind of sucks that there's no more suspects either than the farmer. Because when you're doing one villain, you want to at least have two suspects. Two suspects is at least... I would have been fine with two suspects. But one... That's just too easy, because it's either going to be the obvious guy that we saw before, like the farmer, or it's going to be somebody we hadn't seen before. So the lack of suspects kind of holds the mystery back from being perfect, but it doesn't hinder the mystery or the episode as a whole. It just is an annoying thing that could have made it perfect. It's just little tiny things like that could have made it perfect. Like, no flaws with it. But it's still a 5 out of 5 episode, so it didn't hinder my enjoyment of the episode. It's just an annoying minor thing that I just felt like could have been improved to make the episode perfect. Like, where it could do no wrong. But now let's get on to the positives, which there's plenty of those. So, as usual, I'll start with the gang themselves. They're all great in this episode. Shaggy and Scooby, our main comedic duo, and my favorite characters, obviously, were very funny in this episode. I had a ball seeing them, all their chase scenes. The chase scenes were entertaining. They were fucking hilarious in this episode. They were really funny and entertaining. Their humor was on point, and they even helped find some clues, like with the food, and and helped Fred down. And they found the stuff in the tower. So they weren't useless in this episode. They did a lot of great things. So it's nice to have that, because it shows that Shaggy and Scooby, despite being scared and cowardly and running around and being goofy, they do have their moments of being helpful. And like in this episode, they find some clues and help the mystery. It's good when every member of the gang contributes and each finds a clue or helps play a part in solving the mystery. That's what makes an episode great. And Shaggy and Scooby's main thing that I'm looking for is humor. But having stuff like them finding clues or any stuff that we don't, or unique stuff like them taking charge or anything, is something unique that I always like to see. So it was cool to see them help Fred down, when Daphne and Velma couldn't do anything about it. So Shaggy and Scooby had to step up and be the two to figure it out. And I like that they found some clues to help solve the mystery, and they were hilarious. They were on their top game. That's what I want to see from Shaggy and Scooby. Velma was pretty sassy in this episode. She has her sassier moments where she kind of snaps back at Shaggy. She's always like, "Where's Shaggy?" Or she'll be like, "Your description was vague, Shaggy." Like, Jesus, Velma. We don't have to go hard like that. Come on, Shaggy's doing his best here. But that's kind of why I like her, because that little sass is something that is an element of Velma that I do like. So I do appreciate seeing that in some of the older stuff. That's why I like Nicole Jaffe's version of Velma, because she has that little sass and knows when to take charge, and she has that intelligence. I also like that they gave her character flaw, showing that she's not smart at everything. Like I said in the episode, showing that she doesn't know mechanics and that she has trouble with it, and that she can't get Fred down because she's not smart enough for that. it doesn't say that she's dumb. It just means that she's not perfect at everything, and I like that. Most iterations of Velma will try to say she's perfect at everything because she's a bookworm. She knows everything, but she doesn't. She doesn't know everything, and that's what I like. I like when they show that she's not perfect at everything. She's a smart girl, but she's not perfect at everything and doesn't know all the answers and doesn't know everything. And sometimes the other members of the gang are better at other things, and that's okay because that gives Velma a character flaw and helps make her character stronger. So I really like that they showed that. Fred and Daphne probably had the least to do, but they were helpful enough. Fred took charge in the mystery, and Fred made a little joke at the end, so he's kind of funny. And Daphne, while not doing much, she probably had the least to do. She at least helped with the mystery, by finding, by helping out with the, finding the grease in the workshop, and pointing out the article on the newspaper that the Space Kook was focused on. So it's not like it was bad, but definitely Daphne was probably not as strong in this episode. But that's okay. It happens. Not every character is going to be amazing, but she was good enough. Her and Fred did their part. They were good enough. They weren't bad. Now we get on to the mystery itself. I like the mystery itself. I thought it was intriguing and engaging. The mystery is the gang want you want to know why the Space Kook is haunting this airfield, and where he comes from. That's the most interesting thing. Why is the Space Kook haunting this airfield? And where the fuck did he come from? Who is the Space Kook? What is he? Is he an alien? Is he a dead astronaut? What is he? There's a million different backstories you could give Space Kook. His design is so unique. He could be an alien. He could be a human. He could be from another dimension or universe, or anything. Who fucking knows? But the cool thing is that you could just do anything with Space Kook's backstory, and it makes sense because the design is so unique. It could be anything that you want it to be, and the imagination can run wild. So that's what really makes Space Kook such a great villain, and I'll get on to him later. And the clues and explanation on how Space Kook did what he did is believable. I like that the clues were believable. They showed they pointed towards Space Kook's motive. We got to see, they explained how every little bit, how Space Kook did what he did throughout the episode, and it was believable. I believed every word of it. It didn't feel like, I wasn't like, oh, maybe this explanation's not that well done. No, they did a good job explaining how Space Kook did each of the things he did while haunting the airfield and scaring off the gang. So the mystery was really engaging and hooked you in because the Space Kook was such an amazing villain. You wanted to know what his purpose was haunting the airfield, but also you wanted to know what he was. Who is this guy? Who is this ghost? Where does he come from? What is he? That's what I love about Space Kook, the mysterious aspect. And that's what makes him a very strong villain. And speaking of Space Kook, we might as well talk about Space Kook. And Space Kook is definitely one of the best villains of the Where Are You series. He definitely is up there as one of my favorite villains. Now, they don't really refer to him as Space Kook in the episode. People just call him that because that's what the title name, the name of the episode is. And I like it. It's a good name. Some people call him Space Ghost. Some people call him the Ghost from Outer Space, or like an alien ghost, something like that. But Space Kook works because it's a good, it ties in with the episode name. But if you say alien space ghost or ghost from outer space, that's cool and all, but but it might take away the mysterious element of the backstory if you're saying he's an alien or you're saying ghost from outer space. It's better to leave that open and just say, well, is he a guy from Earth? who died, and an astronaut who died, or is he an alien, or is he something else entirely? You don't know, but that's the great thing about Space Kook. He has a fantastic villain design. The skull with the fucking, with the, whenever he laughs, it would glow red. His laugh was fantastic. His spacesuit was cool. He was all bulky and shit. I love the phosphorus and how he left glowing footprints and he was glowing. Really made him creepy and spooky. Like, he was a very intimidating villain for sure. But his laugh was so infectious and, iconic. It's creepy. It suits the episode. It's so great. But it does well to, enhance the design of Space Kook, because every time he laughs, like, his helmet glows and, it goes red, and, you see the mouth, Space Kook's mouth, the skeleton mouth, move up and down, and it's really creepy and spooky, but it's so awesome. And then, like I said, the glowing footprints and, his glowing hands and just how he's glowing in general. And his spacecraft as well. His spacecraft looks fucking cool. Like, it looks very creepy and mysterious. You don't know, like, it makes him even more creepy and more mysterious because you don't know. The spacecraft doesn't look anything like an Earth spacecraft, but it very well could be. You don't know that. It could be like a high-tech Earth spacecraft, or it could be an alien one. But that's what's so cool about it, is the spacecraft is so unique, the villain is so unique. It's just like the designs and everything are done so well that I didn't feel like anything was offbeat with this villain. He had great powers, he looked great, he was menacing and threatening to the gang, and he was just an overall great villain. I loved this villain. Now, outside of the costume, you have, of course, Henry Bascom, who was the farmer's neighbor, which we did not meet. So he didn't have a moment to So because he wasn't a suspect and we didn't see him earlier in the episode, we didn't get to see him out of the costume. But like I said, I've already explained, my grievance with that. It's annoying, yeah, but it doesn't hinder it like other certain episodes would. His motive is good. He has a good motive that suits the episode. Him wanting the land for cheap, so he's scaring everybody off the airfield and the surrounding area as it's reopening. It's a good one. It's nothing new we haven't seen, but it is something that we haven't seen in a while, I would say. And it's one of the earlier versions of the land motivated plots. Like, Scooby-Doo villains will typically go in one of two directions: money or land. Money and land are usually the big two ones. But it's fine because it's an earlier version of it, and it doesn't really bother me because it suits the episode. And the atmosphere and setting of this episode was really great. I loved the set. It was just as creepy as the villain that was haunting it. Like, Space Kook was really accommodated by this haunted airfield. This abandoned airfield that was creepy as shit. It was run down. Everything was left over. It looked like it was left in a hurry because Space Kook just dropped by and, like, scared everybody off. It's like everybody fucking ran off, which was really cool. And just the whole atmosphere and how it feels, it just is really set up well. Like, it feels creepy walking into this thing. Like, I wouldn't want to walk into this airfield at all if I saw this ghost. The atmosphere is just done so well in this episode, it complements it. So all that is done superbly here. So overall, guys, I would recommend this episode to fans and newcomers of the show. It's a fantastic and amazing episode with only like two minor issues that hold it from being like completely perfect, but it's still 5 out of 5 material. Like, it's an episode that I can easily go back to. It's iconic for a reason, and it's very well loved and viewed highly by Scooby-Doo fans for a reason. Because it has everything that is necessary for a Scooby-Doo episode. It does everything well. This is an episode that I can rewatch and come back to anytime I want. It has a great villain with a suitable motive. He's very creepy and mysterious. He has a lot of things complimenting him, his design and all, and you know, his spacecraft and everything. The gang are all on point. They're very entertaining. They all do what they need to do. They have great moments to shine in this episode. The mystery itself is engaging, and you're interested in what, you know, the gang will find out. You want to know more. It's just all done well here, and I just feel like everything worked in this episode. This is a fantastic Where Are You episode that deserves the praise it gets. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Please give it a like if you did. Comment down below your thoughts on the episode. Do you like it like me? Are you a huge fan of it? Do you hate this episode? I would be interested to hear that. I don't know. I've never heard a Scooby-Doo fan really dog on this episode, but if you do hate it, you know, tell me why down in the comments. Or are you somewhere in the middle where you think it's okay? I'm curious for your thoughts, so let me know down in the comment section below. And subscribe for more Scooby-Doo content like this, or if you're just interested in any of my other content, I have plenty more Scooby-Doo Where Are You reviews coming up later this month. And we're almost close to the end of Season 1, so maybe we'll finish Season 1 this month, who knows. But there's a lot of Scooby-Doo content coming this way, not just this month, but, you know, during the Summer Special and Scooby Month, and later this year. Scooby-Doo is not leaving anytime soon, and that's what I liked it to be, because Scooby-Doo is my favorite franchise that I review on this channel. I love talking about Scooby-Doo, everything Scooby-Doo. So if you're into that, come subscribe. We got plenty more Scooby-Doo content coming your way. Of course, I diversified, to make sure, I give, to not make the channel stale and, review different stuff. But if you're also interested in any of the other content that I have, you can subscribe for that reason too. You can also follow me on Facebook, where I have where I have discussions about things we talk about on both my channels. The polls are obviously on my community tab now, and that's where I also keep my updates. So anytime you want a monthly update or want to hear anything, check the community tab. That's where usually anything new will be mostly posted. But Facebook is where I'm gonna try, where I want to have discussions with you guys about both my channels and the things we talk about on both my channels. And Twitch, where I hope to live stream in the future. But in my next video, I will continue my playthrough of the LEGO Marvel Avengers DLC with the release of Part 3 of my Let's Play, which is the Black Panther DLC story. So I hope you guys join me for that. And yeah, that's all I have to say. That's it for this time, Scooby-Doo fans. So we'll also episode 16's review will be coming soon. You can expect that. I'm sure it'll be either next week or the following week, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, peace out.
Where are you? We got some work to do now. Scooby-Doo, where are you? We need some help from you now. Come on, Scooby-Doo, I see you. Pretending you got silver. You're not here with me, 'cause I can see the way you shake and shiver. You know we got a mystery to